All right, so some time ago, I made a video looking at this stupid-ass Tokyo Game Show Tekken exhibition where they had the players there and they were not playing, but they were there. It was weird, right? Check that out if you haven't, by the way. I think it's one of the better videos I've made. What I did not know is that at that moment, me just reflecting on, a stupid moment in time would somehow become a premonition, a vision of a dark future. And so, with that said, it might not look like it, but this is a 40-man tournament. I signed up for this Melty Blood tournament somewhat recently, and it was advertised in kind of a weird way. It's called the Exahai, Exafield Akihabara, the Cup. And so it was advertised as being online, but offline. You could play your match, whatever, right? So I showed up, and the way that this worked was, this was primarily an online event, but with this catch. If you want to go to the venue, you could play your opponent if they are also at the venue, or you could use the setups that they have there at the local venue, and you could play your opponents who are playing from home online that way, primarily contacting them through Discord. So this kind of hybrid event that combines, in theory, the best worlds of offline and online, I actually thought it went pretty smoothly. I noticed there were a few points where maybe we could optimize a little bit, but this kind of idea is something that got me thinking, is this a possible future of the local event, where we do this kind of hybrid structure? Could this be a middle ground that bridges the gap between locals and net play? I think maybe so. And, it gets you thinking a little bit more about some of the conversations that we've had about events over the past, year and change. Online events have been a real blessing in a lot of ways, It's, for one, it's allowed people to, anybody who wants to run an event, you could just run an online event. It's not like you're limited by setups or anything like that, right? However, with the abundance of them, I think over the past year and change, especially with the advent of games like Strive, where there's just been so many online events. I mean, if you really want to play in a tournament once every day, you can. And that's great for giving people that experience, exposure on some level. But with the abundance of them, I think it's also it's had some negative drawbacks that I don't think a lot of people were expecting. From a player perspective, competitive burnout is easy to happen. I think it ends up in a way to where when there's that many events like that, any one event ends up feeling low impact and kind of all feels the same from a player's perspective. You're playing the same people over and over again. Like, you lose to this person on Wednesday, screw it, man, I'll play you again tomorrow, in the bracket or whatever. From a viewer's perspective, a lot of them end up kind of looking and feeling the same too, aside from graphics package changes and commentator changes. So given that, is an angle like this enough to make this event feel unique and different enough from a player perspective? I don't know. I don't have the answer. I'm actually posing that question to you guys. What do you all think? There's been a lot of talk over the past year, I think, about how offline events and their competitive standards struggles to find, with regards to quality and setup wise, parity with online home setups. Your players playing on high refresh rate monitors with all these ways to lower input lag, different ways to make the gameplay feel better for themselves. That's going to be difficult for offline events of varying sizes to replicate. Not only that, but offline events, it costs more money now to run events. The question that it leads me to ask is, at a base level, what is the value of going to these events like this? What can we do to create or instill drive to go offline and compete? And how is our perspective on this going to change going into the next era? This isn't a discussion on, I think the Street Fighter V people are always really hung up on like online results, no respect, and offline, you got to do it offline. They're hung up on that. What I'm thinking more about is, how are our events and our competitive infrastructure for the game, how is that going to look in 10 years? Are people still going to events? Because something that's happened in the past, I'd say 5 to 10 years in North America that you can witness, is there used to be a tier of event that I called like the regional event. Not necessarily a combo breaker, not a CEO, not an EVO obviously, but the like mid-sized event. Couple hundred people get together in a hotel ballroom, you go play. Those kinds of events are basically gone now. And it really got me thinking, why? Like, why is that? And it's just because I think, dude, being a TO sucks, man. Running events is fucking rough. And what you can kind of observe with the North American community, which I think is one of the better examples to look at with this kind of conversation, is you've witnessed a lot of these TOs get older, and maybe, they're more detached from the community, maybe they're not as interested in the games anymore, whatever the case may be. They eventually walk away, But what you can see is, looking at the gen coming after them, or the gen coming after that, you're not seeing a lot of players or people step up in those roles and, willing to run events or something like that. I always give props to the Kill Sage because he's somebody who didn't wait around. He didn't want to wait for somebody to run an event or do something the way he wanted to. He stood, put boots on the ground and did it himself. He mixed masters some really cool stuff that he's done. But he's an exception. He's not the rule. There's not a lot of younger players who are willing to step up and kind of run events, and I can't really blame them because running an event is tough, man. It's rough. It's really rough. But, with these online events, it maybe is a good platform for some people to learn about doing that and at least get a start. The overall questions that this leads me to is, what are the value of going to events like this? Is it just merely a social outlet? What can these events do to feel more unique or offer something new other than just you go play in the bracket, you lose, go home? It can't be just that. It's got me thinking about what we're doing out here for Tatakai Tuesday, and I have some plans for that. But my question is to you guys, when you guys do go to a local or you do go to an event, what is it about that event that draws you to it? What is it about that event that you find most, what are the most memorable things about it to you? What makes it stand out in the sea of events? What makes this event stand out to you in your mind versus another? I think that's a question that TOs are going to really have to reflect on. I think looking ahead into the next era where we have titles like Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6, and whatever Riot is planning on the horizon, assuming that our event organizer will even be able to run that Riot game. It gets me thinking more about when we have chances when players for the first time come to let's say a local style event, right? They're investing a certain amount of money to get there. They're investing a certain amount of time to get there. What can you do as an organizer, as a community member, as a player to make sure that person walks away feeling like, man, I'm glad I came here? I think if you care about the structure of the community and preserving some things about our attitude and the way that our community works, I think that this is a question that we're really going to have to focus on looking ahead to the future. I pose that question to you guys. What are things that you guys would like to see at events that, you think could be reasonable to consistently organize or do? What are some things that you think are missing? What do you really enjoy about them? What don't you enjoy about them? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll holler at you guys later.